What you are about to hear happened in a prison in 2023 and shocked all the staff. An innocent police officer, wrongly convicted, made a simple request to the Virgin Mary. But what happened in the next 48 hours was so extraordinary that it forever changed the lives of everyone involved. This is not just an account about justice. It is about how the Virgin Mary can intervene in ways that defy all human logic. Before we continue, leave a comment telling me where you are watching from and what time it is there right now. I would love to see how far the miracles of the Virgin Mary are reaching. Detective Ryan Clark was 42 years old when his life turned into a nightmare. For 18 years, he served in the police department with an impeccable reputation. Ryan grew up in a Catholic family. His grandmother, Mary Clark, always carried a small wooden statue of the Virgin Mary, painted blue and white, no bigger than the palm of a hand. Ryan, his grandmother always said, when everything seems lost, ask the Virgin Mary for help. She never abandons those who need her. When Mary passed away in 2020, she left the statue to Ryan. He kept it at home, more out of respect for his grandmother's memory than out of genuine faith. Ryan had been married to Jessica for 12 years, and they had an 8-year-old daughter, Emma. They lived peacefully until January 2023, when everything collapsed. Ryan was assigned to review some old cases that had been questioned. It was routine work until he discovered it was anything but routine. As he went through the files, Ryan found evidence that someone was systematically tampering with cases. Evidence disappearing, witnesses changing their statements, reports being altered. Captain Reynolds, Ryan said in a private meeting, I found serious irregularities in several cases. Captain Steve Reynolds, Ryan's superior for the past 8 years, looked visibly disturbed. What kind of irregularities? Someone is manipulating evidence and intimidating witnesses. I have documentation of everything. Reynolds paused for a long moment. Ryan, this is very serious. Leave it with me. I will review it personally. Ryan left satisfied, thinking he had done his duty, but he had just signed his own condemnation. And you, if you were in Ryan's place, would you have trusted your superior, or would you have suspected something? A week later, Ryan received an urgent call from Sergeant Kevin Davis. Ryan, I need you to come check out suspicious activity in an abandoned warehouse. It's urgent. Ryan had known Davis for years and trusted him. When he arrived at the isolated warehouse, he sensed something was wrong, too quiet, too deserted. Suddenly, patrol cars appeared from all directions. Ryan Clark, Reynolds shouted through the megaphone, you are under arrest for criminal involvement. Captain, what madness is this? Davis told me to come here. When they searched the warehouse, they found compromising materials that had obviously been planted. Ryan, Reynolds said coldly, you have disappointed us. This is a setup. You know I would never do this. But the so-called evidence spoke for itself. The trial was a spectacle. Ryan was painted as a corrupt cop, caught red-handed. Witnesses appeared with detailed stories about Ryan's alleged suspicious behavior. Colleagues he had considered friends testified against him. Kevin Davis was convincing. I always suspected Detective Clark. He asked too many questions about cases that weren't his. Ryan's lawyer, Paul Anderson, barely defended him. Ryan, Anderson said, they have a strong case. Maybe we should negotiate. I'm innocent. Jessica watched in horror as the family's life collapsed. Emma had to change schools because of the harassment. The jury deliberated for only 3 hours. Guilty. Ryan Clark, said Judge Robert Taylor, you betrayed your profession. This court sentences you to life in prison. Life in prison for a former police officer was daily torture. Ryan faced constant hostility and attacks from other inmates. In the first months, he was assaulted several times. The guards ignored his safety. Ryan withdrew, spending time reading Jessica's letters and looking at photos of Emma. Jessica visited weekly, but Ryan saw the growing exhaustion on her face. "Ryan," she said during a visit, "I managed to bring what you asked for." With permission from the administration, she brought the small statue of the Virgin Mary that belonged to Grandma Mary. Ryan held the familiar statue, remembering his grandmother's words about asking the Virgin Mary for help. Can you imagine how Ryan felt, holding that statue in a cold cell? After only 1 year in prison, very different from cases that take decades, Ryan reached his emotional limit. Jessica had begun missing visits due to financial problems. Emma barely spoke to him on phone calls. At night, alone in his cell, Ryan held the statue of the Virgin Mary and made the most desperate plea of his life. "Virgin Mary," he whispered, "my grandmother always said you protect those who trust in you. I've lost everything, career, reputation, family, suffering. If you really exist, if you really care, I need a miracle. I can't take it any more." Ryan kissed the statue and placed it on the small table beside the bed. He was just a desperate man, praying to a piece of wood. But what happened in the days that followed would prove that the Virgin Mary had heard every word. Ryan realized his situation was getting worse. Being an ex-police officer, he was already a natural target for hostility, but lately the threats had become more direct. Michael "Brick" Thompson, leader of one of the prison's most feared groups, had taken a special interest in Ryan. "Cop," Thompson said at lunch, surrounded by his followers, "you will pay for all our brothers you arrested on the street." Ryan tried to avoid confrontations, but Thompson made that impossible. "It doesn't matter where you hide in here," Thompson continued. "Your time will come." Other prisoners confirmed to Ryan that Thompson was organizing something. "Man," said Jake Miller, his cellmate, "I heard they've marked you for Friday, during yard time." Ryan felt his stomach turn to ice. Friday was in 2 days. Thompson had secured support from members of different groups, something rare in the prison. They all agreed on one thing. Ex-cops needed to be disciplined. "Oswum. We'll make it look like an accident," Thompson explained to his companions. "During the chaos in the yard, no one will see anything." Pete Williams, a 15-year veteran in the prison, would be responsible for distracting the guards. Tony Brooks would bring sharp objects, jagged pieces of metal, and broken cables. The plan was simple: surround Ryan during exercise, when surveillance was lighter, and finish what they considered justice. "Tomorrow morning," Thompson announced, "the corrupt cop will learn how real justice works here." On Thursday night, Ryan could barely sleep. Jake Miller had confirmed the rumors. "Ryan, man, you need to ask the guards for protection." "And spend the rest of my life in isolation?" Ryan replied. "I'd rather face it." But deep down, Ryan was terrified. He knew his chances against an organized group were minimal. Around 2 in the morning, Ryan got up and took the small statue of the Virgin Mary. "Virgin Mary," he whispered in the dark, "tomorrow might be my last day. If you really protect your children, I need your help. Not for me, but for Jessica and Emma." Ryan held the statue against his chest and tried to sleep, mentally preparing for what could be his final sunrise. Friday, exercise time in the yard. Ryan went out with the other prisoners, hyper-vigilant. He saw Thompson discreetly signaling to his companions, positioning themselves strategically. The yard was as busy as always. Some prisoners played basketball, others walked, groups chatted. Ryan stayed close to the fence, trying to keep a possible escape route, but he knew it was useless. "Now," Thompson murmured to Williams. Williams provoked an argument on the other side of the yard, drawing the guards' attention there. Thompson, Brooks, and 3 others began approaching Ryan from different directions. Ryan noticed the movement and felt his heart race. This was it. "Hey, cop," Thompson called out loud enough for Ryan to hear. "Time to pay your dues." Thompson and his men completely surrounded Ryan. There was no escape. "Guys," Ryan said, trying to stay calm, "we don't have to do this." "Oh, yes, we do," Brooks said, revealing the sharp object hidden in his sleeve. Thompson gave the signal. They all lunged at once. But then something extraordinary happened. At the exact moment they rushed at Ryan, an intense golden light burst out of nowhere, blinding all 5 attackers completely. The light was so strong that Thompson, Williams, Brooks, and the other 2 instantly had to cover their eyes, unable to see anything at all. "What's happening?" Thompson shouted, disoriented by the sudden brightness. "I can't see anything," Williams yelled, stumbling and falling to the ground. Brooks dropped the object he was holding, utterly blinded by the unexplainable light. Ryan stood at the center of the circle, untouched, seeing clearly while his attackers staggered blindly around him. The light lasted exactly 3 minutes, enough time for the guards to notice the commotion and rush to the scene. When the light finally vanished, the 5 men gradually regained their sight. The guards had arrived and were asking what had happened. "What was all that commotion?" Sergeant Mike Foster asked. Thompson blinked several times, still trying to make sense of what he had just experienced. For a moment it seemed like everything would go back to normal, that Thompson would come up with some random excuse. But then he looked at Ryan and felt something different. The anger had completely disappeared. In its place was a strange sense of peace. "Sergeant," Thompson said in a shaky voice, "I need to speak with the authorities." "I have important information." Brooks and Williams looked at Thompson as if he had lost his mind. "Michael, what the hell are you doing?" Brooks whispered. But Thompson completely ignored his companions. "Sergeant Foster, I have information about crimes that happened. Information that could help innocent people." In Director Wright's office, Thompson told a story that left everyone stunned. "Before I was arrested," Thompson explained, "I worked occasionally as an informant for some cops. They paid me for information about what was happening on the streets." "Go on," Wright said. "In January 2023, Detective Kevin Davis approached me. He said he needed a special favor. He paid $5,000 for me to say that I had sold illegal substances to Detective Clark." "But that was a lie," Thompson continued. "I had never met Clark before seeing him here in prison. Davis made it all up and paid me to confirm the story if I was called to testify." "Oh, so Tim, why are you telling this now?" Thompson hesitated, touching his still sensitive eyes. Because what happened in the yard today made me realize that some things are more important than money or fear. That light, I've never seen anything like it. It reminded me of when I was a kid, and my grandmother always told me to do what's right." "What light?" Wright asked. "A light that appeared out of nowhere. It blinded us completely." Thompson not only confessed his role in the scheme, but also revealed details that only someone involved could know. "Davis told me that Clark was uncovering too much about old cases, that there was a big operation involving several departments, and that Clark could ruin everything. Do you have proof of this?" "I have the receipts for Davis's payments. He always paid with checks from different accounts, thinking that would erase the trail. But I kept everything." Thompson explained that he kept records of all his jobs as a way to protect himself. "Where are these receipts?" Wright asked. "My ex-girlfriend Carmen Johnson has a box with all my documents. You can call her." In less than 24 hours, the authorities contacted Carmen Johnson, who confirmed that she had Thompson's box of documents. When they opened the box, they found not only Davis's payment receipts, but also audio recordings that Thompson had made of the conversations. In the most compromising recording, Davis explained everything clearly. With the evidence provided by Thompson, a federal investigation was immediately opened. Davis was arrested at his home at 6 a.m. on Saturday. When confronted with the recordings, he initially tried to deny everything. "This proves nothing. Thompson is a known criminal. Nobody will believe him." But when the investigators presented the financial receipts and the audio recordings, Davis realized there was no way out. Captain Reynolds arranged everything, Davis confessed, after 6 hours of interrogation. Reynolds was arrested the same day. Confronted with Davis's confession and the evidence, he also ended up confessing. Clark was too honest, Reynolds admitted. There was no way to buy him or intimidate him. The only solution was to get him out of the way. The following Monday, Ryan was officially cleared of all charges. Jessica and Emma were waiting at the prison gates when he came out. "Daddy!" Emma shouted, running into her father's arms. "I knew you were innocent," Jessica whispered, hugging the husband she hadn't seen free for over a year. Ryan looked back at the prison and thought of Thompson. "I want to visit Michael Thompson," Ryan said to Jessica. "Visit? Why?" "Because if it weren't for him, I would still be in there." A week later, Ryan returned to the prison as a visitor to meet Thompson. "I didn't expect to see you again," Thompson said, sitting down on the other side of the table. "Michael, I came to thank you. You saved my life." Thompson lowered his eyes. "Man, I was going to hurt you in that yard. If it hadn't been for that light, you wouldn't be here talking to me. Tell me what you really saw." Thompson hesitated, then looked straight at Ryan. "It was the strangest thing in my life. A golden light appeared out of nowhere, brighter than anything I had ever seen. It completely blinded us for a few minutes." Ryan felt a chill. "My grandmother always said that the Virgin Mary protects those who need her," Ryan said softly. "Your grandmother might be right," Thompson replied, "because when that light disappeared I felt different. Like someone had lifted a weight off my shoulders." Thompson paused, then continued, "Ryan, that moment in the yard changed my life. I decided to use the time I have left here to try to be a better person." Spief. In the following months, Thompson became one of the most respected figures in the prison. He organized discussion groups about life change, always talking about second chances. "Each one of you can choose to be different," Thompson told the other prisoners. "I discovered that in the most unexpected way possible." Many prisoners began seeking Thompson for advice. He always ended his conversations the same way. "If a guy like me can change, anyone can. Sometimes we just need the right opportunity." Father Michael Foster, the prison chaplain, noticed Thompson's impact. Ryan resumed his life, but he never forgot what happened in that courtyard. The small statue of the Virgin Mary now stands in a special place in his home, where he and his family pray every night. "Every time I look at it," Ryan always says, "I remember that the Virgin Mary turned a situation of danger into an opportunity for justice." Jessica often asks about that day in the courtyard. "What do you think really happened, Ryan?" "I believe the Virgin Mary did exactly what my grandmother always said she would do." Today, Ryan works as a private investigator. This story teaches us that the miracles of the Virgin Mary can happen in the most unexpected ways. She not only protected Ryan from a dangerous situation, but she completely transformed the life of Michael Thompson, a man who seemed lost forever. Grandmother Mary's statue, which once appeared to be nothing more than a wooden object, became an instrument of divine justice and human transformation. Now I would like to invite you to a brief prayer. Most Holy Virgin, Mother of Mercy and Consolation, today we lift up to you the cry of our hearts. Just as you extended your hand over Ryan in the moment of greatest pain, extend also over us your mantle of love and protection. Mary, refuge of those who suffer and hope of those who weep, intercede for every family facing injustice, for every heart that feels lost, and for all those who are in need of a miracle in their lives. Teach us to trust, even when everything seems lost. May we hold in our hands and in our souls the certainty that you never abandon your children. Virgin Mary, Mother of tenderness and strength, accompany us in every step, strengthen our faith, and always lead us to the heart of Jesus, your beloved Son. Amen. And now I want to hear from you. What part of this story touched your heart the most? Share here in the comments what the Virgin Mary has already done in your life. Your testimony may strengthen the faith of many people. If this story touched your heart, and if you are not yet subscribed to the channel, take this moment. Click on the subscribe button and activate the notification bell so you don't miss any of the upcoming stories of miracles and faith that I will bring. Remember, when everything seems lost, when injustice seems stronger than truth, trust in the protection of the Virgin Mary. She continues to protect her children, transforming hearts and performing miracles that defy all human understanding.